Hello and welcome to this very special series on science. It's all around us. From a simple tool to a complicated device, we're surrounded by science. Over the next 6 episodes, we'll take you through how scientists across the world are working hard to make our lives better and the breakthroughs that have made us go wow. One technology that's making fighting cancer a lot easier today is that of robotic surgery. If we told you that something this small is a robot doing complicated surgeries, you would laugh. But robotic surgery has become a reality. In fact, from 13 robots in 2012, India today has 26 robots performing a variety of surgeries. Let's take a look at how this robotic technology works.
Master-slave concept where surgeon uses the help of a machine to carry out the operations.
Nearly 99.7% accuracy.
It's much gentler.
The machine has 4 arms, which are controlled by the surgeon who sits on a console some distance away from the operating table. While one arm is the camera, which enables the surgeon to get a 3D look inside the patient, the others perform the surgery just like human hands would. Except it's much more precise, has no margin for error, is much less invasive, involves minimal loss of blood, and leads to quick recovery. The areas in which robotic surgery is becoming regular practice are coronary artery bypass, mitral valve repair, spinal surgeries, kidney removals and kidney transplants, hysterectomies, removal of cancer tissues from sensitive areas, hip replacements, and gallbladder removal.
The huge advantage of robotic surgery is that when it comes to doing complex maneuvers, very intricate kind of maneuvers in a very difficult to reach inaccessible areas, now those can be accomplished extremely easily with this tool.
The robotic project was started with an agency called DARPA, or the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, and NASA in the US in the late 70s for the purpose of operating on soldiers and astronauts. 2 American companies then bought the technology in the year 2000 and created the Da Vinci robot. Brought into India first in 2003 and then in 2008, initially for cardiac applications, it is, as we now know, used across surgical genres. Apart from the Da Vinci, some smaller robots have also made their entry into the Indian healthcare system. The Mazor robotic renaissance is the size of a soda can. But this sophisticated piece of machinery can ensure 99.9% precision in all its spinal surgeries. Its primary work is to locate the position on the spine where the doctor has to insert screws. The machine does this based on patient data that is fed through a CT scan and by the information added by the doctor. The Mazor enables the doctor to perform the surgery without the risk of damaging a nerve.
I've always fear of paralysis after surgery and all, so that is avoided.
Just 2 months ago, Carolee Surge had an intricate spinal surgery done with the Mazor in New Delhi.
48 hours after surgery, I was walking home on my own legs without any frame or help, and I felt safe, so this was amazing for me.
So what's the future for robotic surgery? Robots will be able to crawl inside the human body for endoscopic surgery. They will deliver cancer drugs directly to the tumor. They will swim into the uterus for fetal surgery, and robotic snakes will perform heart surgery.
This technology will go the same way as happened with computers and mobile phones. When the first computer came, it was almost filling one room and it was prohibitively expensive. And today we are talking of palm-top computers. And what people are working on now is to incorporate ultrasound, CT scan, MRI, PET scan, every information into the computer and create a virtual patient inside the computer. Do a virtual surgery on that patient, get the virtual specimen out, do a virtual pathology, find out whether your margins are adequate, whether any structure got injured, everything. So practice all this in a virtual environment before you actually go to do the surgery. And the one next step would be that while you are doing all this, save it as a file. And if you are fine, then when it comes to doing it, you don't really have to sit there. You just press enter and the file gets executed. Now all this sounds fiction today, but a lot of things which are existing today sounded fiction at some time. So I think the future is very bright.
We're living longer, yes, but the truth is there's a crisis today. As we age more, our organs are failing. And in the last few years, the number of patients needing organs has doubled, but the number of donors has barely kept up. Now, luckily, technology is taking us into exciting areas, and none more exciting and promising than regenerative medicines. Let's take a look.
We're working on many different tissues, including skin, which we plan to bioprint, as well as ears, digits, muscle, cartilage, bone, nerve, and to be able to replace things such as craniofacial structures, limbs and digits, as well as other parts of the body due to the damage incurred by injury.
Dr. Anthony has been working on rebuilding damaged skin, tissues, bones and organs for 20 years. Earlier, if an organ was damaged, it meant the patient required a transplant from a donor. Now an option is growing in our surgical spaces, a process that over time could make organ donation a thing of the past. Tissue printing with bio-ink. Well, how do you create tissues to rebuild a damaged organ? The inspiration comes from regular inkjet printers. In this case, it's an exclusively designed printer with two cartridges. One cartridge is filled with biodegradable gel called the biopaper that will carry the print. The other cartridge is filled with bio-ink, a suspension of viable cells from the body of the patient whose organ is damaged. And as you begin to print, the two cartridges create alternate layers. First paper and then cells to build a three-dimensional structure. Soon the layers of cells separated by the biopaper start fusing together with the help of various proteins and biological factors, creating a rigid tissue structure which can then be used to repair the damaged organ. The bio-ink technology is a revolution in medical science, and the days aren't too far when an actual organ can be built outside the human body. Or in a simpler situation, when an injured patient is wheeled in, a machine scans his cell and prints the required skin onto the wound. Imagine a world where your body holds the key to treating an illness. After the break, find out how stem cells from a patient's own blood or bone marrow can be used to repair damaged tissues in one's heart and arteries. Welcome back to Think Science. One technology that has the potential to treat an enormous range of diseases and conditions that plague millions around the world is tissue rejuvenation with stem cells. That's because one of the main characteristics of stem cells is their ability to multiply while maintaining the potential to develop into other types. An average human body is made up of about, as per some estimates, 37 trillion cells. A cell is the smallest living unit of the body and has the ability to reproduce itself. Cells have specific capabilities that allow them to perform certain tasks. For example, a red blood cell contains hemoglobin that allows it to carry oxygen. However, there are some cells called the stem cells. They have unspecialized capabilities and do not have tissue-specific structures to perform specialized functions. They have the ability to become various types of cells and perform various functions. This means miracles in medical science because they provide a replacement source of cells to treat serious diseases, which means that virtually any disease that results in cellular and tissue deconstruction can potentially be treated by stem cells. Some of the conditions are diabetes, spinal cord injury, retinal disease, Parkinson's, heart disease, cancer, eyesight loss, bone problems, and skin diseases.
stem cells are those repairing cells which all of us have in body and in our entire body. Wherever there is regeneration required, like skin, like mucosa, like blood, these stem cells are there. So basically these are the factories which keep on making new cells or daughter cells which further divides and forms the organ.
There are 3 different kinds of stem cells that can be derived at different stages of development. These are the embryonic cells, adult cells, and cord blood cells. An embryonic stem cell is derived from the earlier embryo. They can recreate any kind of cell. Adult stem cells are found in bone marrow, dental pulp, and hair follicles. They can only replicate cells from which they've been derived. And finally, umbilical stem cells. They're somewhere in between and in their ability to differentiate into cells of different lineages. Stem cell research in India started 15 years ago. Today, at the country's premier All India Institute of Medical Sciences, almost every department has some form of animal or human trail which involves the use of stem cells.
Earlier we started with heart attack, and then rest on we moved to stroke, that is a brain stroke, then to repair the cornea, that is the transparent membrane over the eye, then the bone defect, the non-union fractures, then some of the skin problems like vitiligo, that a white patch. We learn from every clinical trial.
One of the stem cell's biggest successes has been the limbal transplant of therapies on the surface of the eye. Take the case of 8-year-old Rahul, who lost his vision in a helium cylinder burst. After several surgeries, the doctors decided to create a stem cell frame and place it on his cornea. Rahul has resumed school, and the only medication he's on are eye drops.
If the one eye is involved, we take a small piece from the other eye. We take these cells, we grow them in our stem cell laboratory, we culture them, grow them, and then we, after a couple of weeks' time, we go to the affected eye, we clean that eye and transplant these cultured cells on that eye, where the function of these stem cells is taken up by the new cells, and they regenerate the area and they stabilize the ocular surface. This is typically how it's done.
The notion that stem cells can be used only within the family is not entirely true. A match is possible outside the realm of blood relatives too. Datiri, a Chennai-based NGO, formed a public stem cell bank in 2009. Today, they have 57,000 donors.
Till now, what we were talking about stem cell, we talk about ourselves. We talk about I store stem cell for my children, I store stem cell for my family. But if we expand our horizon, if we expand our view there, the concept of public banking comes into picture. That means a person donates some of their cord blood stem cells, which are stored in the stem cell bank or public bank, where they are stored for a longer time. They are HLA matched, and when a person, another person requires for any reason, we can release them. So with our high birth rate in India and China, if the public banking of stem cell becomes a reality, well, you can imagine that we would not only be able to support all of our patients, but we may be able to help out other people outside India also.
The world is waiting for the day, and that day is not too far, when the stem cell will be able to create fully formed organs and blood vessels.
There is great hope in using stem cells. It's a matter of time before new innovations and new modalities of treatment will emerge to treat disease, heart, cancer, and all the neurological problem affecting the brain. Most of these diseases can be treated with the cell-based therapy using stem cells. It is going to be a reality.
And finally, over the years, man's will to survive has only become stronger, but diseases like cancer pose obstacles. So what happens when a cancer cell appears in our body? A cell which looks like this begins to multiply and then starts looking like this. So now let's take a look at how knowing our genetic makeup is turning out to be a simple solution to combat this dreaded disease. Bleak as the scenario may be, quiet steps of progress in the corridors of medical science offer new hope every day. Every day is a renewed fight. Medical researchers, doctors and scientists versus the emperor of all maladies. This Delhi-based family lived in fear.
Perhaps they are carrying the genes and
they did not know who among them was going to succumb next.
I lost my brother-in-law, 2 sister-in-law, 1 daughter and 1 son.
So over 2-3 generations, several members have been affected with various kinds of cancers, for breast cancer, brain tumor, bone tumor, blood cancer or leukemia, and unfortunately many of them passed away because of the cancer. And finally, when we looked at, so as I said, first we characterized based on the type of cancers they were there in this family, we suspected it's a very rare syndrome.
It's the leave from many syndrome, in which a mutant gene passes down generations. With a simple test performed like a regular blood test, the doctors could come to their decision. The surviving family members did not carry the mutated gene. They can finally live without fear. This is the power of the technology that can map our genes, check our DNA and identify mutants. The technology can detect, preempt and even on a case-specific basis, cure cancer. All cancers are genetic and occur due to various factors such as environmental issues and lifestyle changes. So if you know your family history, getting yourself checked early on is a good idea. Hollywood star Angelina Jolie has led by example. She created headlines when she underwent a double mastectomy. Jolie had a family history of ovarian and breast cancer, and tests had revealed that she carried the faulty copy of the BRCA1 gene, which put her at a very high risk of getting both forms of the disease. Jolie chose to undergo preventive surgery to beat the risk. Early detection, however, is only one part. The other advantage, knowing a patient's genetic makeup, helps doctors personalize treatments, which means if you're resistant to a particular drug protein, the doctor can modify the chemotherapy or the radiation therapy accordingly. On the screen is what can be seen under the microscope, the normal cells and the cancerous cells. The cancerous cells have spread far. What if it's now metastatic or galloping cancer? A scenario in which the disease spreads from the primary site to the other parts of the body.
Metastatic cancer is not something that you have to be scared of as much as you used to be earlier, because I remember as a postgraduate, condemning a patient to say 3 or 6 months of life, which has changed drastically now. With the targeted treatments, you find that even with metastatic cancer, patients are living longer and maybe going on to 4, 5, 6 years.
Cancer testing today is a focal point in diagnostic centers countrywide. US-based Quest Diagnostics expanded its global operations in India in 2008. With a presence in 25 metros, the range of tests on offer are DNA sequencing for blood cancer, gene mutation for lung cancer therapy, tests for breast, cervical, prostate, soft tissue and bone cancer, also cervical cancer screening.
In lung cancers, we have tests available like EGFR, ALK, ROS1. So, these things have made the diagnosis, the monitoring of the oncology test, the disease is present today much easier and much better. So, you know whether this therapy is going to respond or not. So, it has become more of a personalized medicine. That is where the role of genetic testing has come up.
In fact, an all-inclusive cancer test is also available in the market from Neutrogene, a leading genetic laboratory in New Delhi. It provides CanSec, a comprehensive test for over 200 cancer-related genes.
So CanSec is a service which we started in 2012 with the aim of delivering genetic information to all patients. Right? So the premise was that you take a cancer cell and you extract the DNA from that cancer cell, and then you sequence it for multiple genes, right? Multiple regions in different genes. The approach right now is that you have standalone tests which look at dedicated or very specific and limited loci in your entire DNA, right? What we think is that information is power.
So those were some medical discoveries that are creating hope in the world of health. See you next week with more innovations from the world of science.